text to speak from today. And I was asked by our gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer and questioning community here at All Souls to read this text, because today we're celebrating Pride. And so even though the Pride celebration was last weekend, I knew that everybody from the Pride community wouldn't be here on Sunday morning last Sunday because they were too tired from all the marching and parades and activities, maybe partaking in some of the water that Jesus turned into wine. But the text I was given was the opinion in the case Obergefell versus Hodges, which reversed the judgment of the Court of Appeals of the Sixth Circuit, a judgment that said that same-gender loving people have no right to marry. And Justice Anthony Kennedy wrote in the opinion of the Supreme Court that overturned that decision, "No union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family." It would misunderstand these men and women who seek the right to marry to say that they disrespect marriage. Their plea is that they do respect it. They respect it so deeply that they seek to find its fulfillment for themselves. Their hope is not to be condemned to lives of loneliness, excluded from one of civilization's oldest institutions. They ask for equal dignity in the eyes of the law. The Constitution grants them that right. The judgment of the Court of Appeals of the Sixth Circuit is reversed. All right, we can applaud that. So the thing I want to say is that there are many ways that we create family that are outside of the blood relationships that we have with our families. There's marriage. And when we marry somebody, we join together with them and we start to create a family. Well, there's many ways that we do it, and one of the ways is adoption. And if you haven't been up to our gallery, there are beautiful portraits, big, beautiful portraits of some of the most beautiful, kind-looking, young, vibrant children from Oklahoma. These are all children who are waiting for foster homes or adopted homes. And they are amazing kids. And if you have a moment to stop up there in 207 before you leave, just to see the pictures, but if you have room in your life, in your family, in your home for one of these children, it will be a real blessing. So I adopted a young girl, my wife and I, a few years ago. And so I wanted to just share a little piece of that story with you just to round out our conversation this morning. One of the things about adoption today, which is different from back in the olden days, what I call the olden days, is that all of the power for adoption comes through the birth parents or the birth mother usually. And that person chooses who's going to adopt their child. And so what parents who want to adopt do is that they put out, some information about themselves that they're interested in, try to tell as much as you can about your family, and then the birth mother typically will choose who they want. So, because that's how it goes, the adoption agencies want to know who are you willing to adopt, and they're particularly interested in what ethnicities, what races and cultures you're willing to adopt, because they don't want to give your profile to a birth mother who's going to look at it and say, "Oh yeah, I want these people to adopt my child," and then they get the notification, go, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't want a child who looked like that or comes from that background." And that's a real thing. We want kids to be in loving families, and if someone has an issue, then we don't want them to be doing that. So so you get this box, and there's a check box of every kind of race, ethnicity, mixed race and ethnicity. I mean, there were options on there I didn't even know existed. And so my wife and I, we had a conversation. Here we're adopting. How do we feel about all this? And so this was 9 years ago, and 9 is an important number because, as we said, 10 years ago, Nicole and Bishop Pearson and Gina Pearson and many others who are here, Mother White and the Bents and so many others, Francia and everybody who's here, Floretta, and so many who've joined the church 10 years ago. that weren't here before. So 9 years ago, we are adopting, and my wife, on a Sunday morning just like this, she sees Gina Pearson in the back of the church, and they're talking. She says, hey, we're adopting. We just got this form. We didn't know we had to fill this out. My husband and I are talking. Do you think that we could raise an African-American child? And Gina said, absolutely, you can raise an African-American child. You know, in this church, she's going to have aunties and uncles and brothers and sisters and grandmas and grandpas who are African-American. They're going to, she's going to have a sense of her culture and where she comes from, and you guys would be great parents, and this church would be a great place to raise a little girl. And so my wife told me about that conversation. We checked all the boxes and said, we're ready. We're going to adopt any child that we can. And then 3 months later, we received a phone call from a birth mom who was African American. And she said, hey, I wanted to ask you a few questions. I'm about to give birth here in the next few weeks, and I saw your profile, and we thought, what questions is she going to ask us? And she didn't ask us. Her first question wasn't, what do you believe? Let me ask you, how do you deal with punishment? Or it wasn't that. Her first question was, now, if I give you this baby of mine to raise, how are you going to do her hair? You know, as white people, I just don't know how you're going to figure out how to do her hair, and which is a big deal, and we didn't even know how big a deal it was. But my wife, being quick as she is, she said, well, guess what? We're part of this church, and she's going to have aunties and uncles and brothers and sisters and grandmas and grandpas who are African American, and they're going to help us to raise her, and they'll show us how to do her hair and all of that. And she's going to have a great experience growing up in a really inclusive, loving, and diverse community. And chief among those aunties was Nicole Ogundare. I'll tell you that right now. And also her daughter, Tanise, who the two of them, they did everything they could to teach me how to make, a real straight part. And they taught me how to do puffs and twists and all kinds of things. Put beads in with little small rubber bands and French braiding, and I could do it all. I'm gonna tell you right now. But I still can't get a part as straight as Nicole, who just, that is a talent that I think you have to start when you're young to really get that right. My point in telling you all this morning is that to say that there's many ways that we become family. And one of the ways that we become family is through becoming a part of a church. Because a church is like a family, and we're there for each other in the good times. We're there for each other in the bad times. We help each other when it's difficult, and it's like being family. There are people who we're not blood relatives, and in this church especially, we're not brought together by blood or by belief. We're brought together by love, a love that's beyond belief. And it is something so special, and I thank you for being here, for the part that you play, and for the wonderful story that lives within you. So I hope you will tell your story, speak proudly, share who you are, and know that you are loved, and you are loved beyond belief. Amen.
you're visiting with us online today. We love connecting with people all across the country and around the world, sharing our powerful message of love beyond belief.
There's something new happening here. You can now join All Souls as a virtual member. Our virtual membership is designed for friends who live outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and who want to engage with All Souls in a meaningful way.
You can be part of an expanding family, a global family really, wherever you are. If you live in Oklahoma,
Ohio,
or Orange County, California,
Canada,
or Cameroon. By becoming a virtual member, you'll be able to deepen your connections with members and friends here in Tulsa and with members wherever you are.
Each week, you'll receive special All Souls content tailored for you, our virtual members. Virtual members have access to pastoral care, to personal prayers, and also receive invitations to exclusive web events.
You can learn more, and if you're ready, you can become a virtual member today by visiting allsoulschurch.org/virtual membership.
We're grateful our ministries are having a positive impact on your life, and we want to share the good news of love beyond belief with more and more people. So no matter what, we need your support to keep this ministry growing and thriving, so please consider making a gift today. You can do so by texting
LOVEBB for Love Beyond Belief to 73256, or simply visit our website. You are a blessing in our lives. May you be blessed.
And be a blessing.